Not sponsored by Pepsi. Cartel, my people, my babies, my dogs. What's going on with y'all boys, man? You already know what time it is, man. It's your boy Golden Ghost, and welcome back to the Golden Ghost Cartel, dude, baby boy. And today, well, let's start off with a quick story time, shall we? So, I've talked a lot about fighting games on this channel, man. I'm a DOA main first and foremost, but I've been enjoying VF. I find Tekken fun to a lesser extent nowadays, but I still play it from time to time. I play some Mortal Kombat, Guilty Gear Strive, Street Fighter 6. I play anime arena fighters from time to time, but I don't really post them too much anymore nowadays. I think I even have some Grand Blue on the channel somewhere, but you know what games I haven't, played on the channel before? A Marvel fighter, which is kind of crazy because my glorious Queen Storm is in Marvel vs. Capcom, yet I never really ever made an attempt to get into those games. And the reason why is quite simple. I'm complete boo-boo at tag fighters. I feel like the opportunity for that is all going to change with the existence of Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. Now, I got my hands on Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, the beta. And I can say I had a pretty fun time, and I think the reason why I enjoyed it as much as I did was the fact that even though there wasn't a training mode, being able to fight the CPUs a couple times, I was able to find me a combo for Storm that wasn't just free auto combo mashing, and it didn't feel as oppressive to play as other tag fighters normally feel, especially when you're just starting out, just trying to learn the game. Now, that's not to say there's not problems with Marvel Tokon. I do think the auto combos themselves do way too much damage, for an example, and I feel like once, the top people start to learn the game proper, we're going to start seeing all the nasty stuff that you normally see at, higher levels of tag fighting games, But as it stands now, I kind of like it, it seems like you have multiple chances to interact, multiple chances to win the neutral, and overall you're just doing a lot of unique stuff outside the normal tag bubble, and so far I kind of like it. And depending on how things develop, I might be playing this game long term, maining my girl Storm, man, respectfully. Now take all that I just said, take that and toss it out, because if I tried to say that during the actual time the beta was out, I would have got cooked, bro. I would have got cooked, bro. This game was getting lambasted for a plethora of reasons, and some of them being the exact opposite as the reasons as why I liked the game during the beta. This comment here kind of sums up all the complaints that were being brought up in a nutshell. But the thing that really got me was the problems that people had with combo length and the lack of what seems to me like the ability to put the opponent in some extremely oppressive scenarios. For example, I don't have the exact tweet, but you're going to have to take my word for this, but someone did like a really long combo on Marvel Tokon, right? And it shaved off like 75 to 80% of the person's health bar, and the FGC tribal chief himself, Maximilian the dude, man, replied to this, and he said he wants the whole game to be like that. And luckily I grabbed this screenshot when I did, because this is the only thing that I can find of the original tweets, because I cannot find those original tweets anymore. This is very cool, but once again I'm left asking, who wants to play a game where your opponent gets to spend 25 seconds erasing 75% of your health without any interaction? What I'm getting at is this: the entire concept of long combos and one-sided interactions or player agency discourse around Marvel Tokon really confused me, when these exact same concepts, when applied to other games, change up the entire discourse. What a better example than the current state of Tekken 8, bro. If I had $1 for every time a Tekken player talked about how long combos are in Force 50-50s, I would be getting in a boxing match with Jeff Bezos himself, with the future of PC gaming hanging in the balance, bro. That's how much Tekken players have beaten this concept to death, yet those same things in other fighting games is yearned for. That's what I really want to dive into today, because the more and more often we see the values of casuals, competitive, top players, hell, even the devs and the publishers, bro, they change from game to game, entry to entry, and from the outside looking in, it just looks like nobody knows what they even want in this community. So that's what we're going to get into today, man. And if you enjoy this type of content, you want to see more, man, don't forget to leave a like, comment, share with your friends, all that good stuff, man. As always, subscribe for some more from the Golden Ghost Cartel, and we're going to get right into this, man. But first, Golden Ghost Cartel. Now, upon doing research for this video to find a proper explanation for this phenomenon, I've discovered that the answer is actually very simple in concept, but needs a lot of nuance and examples to properly paint the picture. Luckily for y'all, I love this shit. So here we go, man. Grab your notepad, because Professor Ghost is in the building, man. Professor Ghost is in the building. There are two key words we're going to be using today that I want y'all to pay close attention to. The first word is going to be called preference fragmentation. This term best represents a group that appears to be indecisive because of how many subgroups make up the whole, and all of these subgroups have different preferences and values that constantly clash with no singular value representing the whole. Now, call me a madman, but I feel like this is as close to the definition as what we will get for what we got here, because outside of the fact that fighting games are fun and awesome and the learning process and getting better is an experience anybody can enjoy, outside of that, there's not really a singular take that everyone's going to be on board with. Like, there's not really a mission statement that completely defines the FGC that, you know, everybody's going to get on board with. Among all these fighting games, you know, there lays the individual player base for that game that has specific expectations for that specific game, and on top of that division from the games already, you get it divided even further. Casual players, high level players, top players, veteran players, especially if it's a legacy IP. Even the devs and publishers hold their own views, visions, and values for what they want to have out of their different games, bro, for different reasons. Back to the tag fighter example, because I feel like this gets even deeper. I decided to look into a game that's more aligned with what Maximilian does like, which would happen to be, you know, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. You know, I seen that he made some Marvel vs. Capcom 2 content, and I decided to look into some of that, and one video in specific garnered my attention. So to my understanding, there was a glitch in the game that made Juggernaut a good character or a viable character when he would otherwise be low tier, and in this glitch, you know, it wasn't existent in the fighting collection, yet the glitch, or the thing that made, you know, Juggernaut good or broken, you know, depending on how you want to take how Max actually titled this, they basically patched a glitch back into the game. Marvel vs. Capcom has a lot of messed up scenarios where you can get put in top tier teams that are so absurdly imbalanced in your favor if you pick them, that the player base is made like an unspoken code of honor to not pick those teams if the other person isn't. Which, if I can make a sidebar, bro, that is such a lost art today, because nowadays you genuinely cannot trust the modern fighting game player to have any honor, bro. I've seen people cheat, rage quit, screenshot spam to lag the game out, among other things, bro, all for the sake of seeing a win screen. I don't know when fighting game players got this soft, bro, but I wish it stopped, bro. Long story short, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is kind of busted, and that's the exact way that the core audience likes it. If you tell Max in a stream while he's playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 that certain characters need to be revamped or rebalanced in a patch because the game doesn't feel fun, he and others will tell you that the broken nature of the game is the charm of it, and you just need to adapt and play around it. Now, Tekken players, I just need you to sit here, bro. Imagine Bandai Namco coming out with a statement saying the last thing that I just said, but in regards to Tekken 8 Season 2 when it first dropped. Instead of patching that shit, they just said, like, bro, there will be no comp scene for that game, bro. Make some noise, bro. Make some noise, wreaking havoc, bro. And then Bandai Namco come out with a statement talking about this is the new direction, this is the charm of the game, you just need to adapt. But in the context of people who enjoy Marvel games, this is exactly what they want, and they want the game to be, you know, as it aligns with their values, and they don't want change in the game that they've enjoyed for years. The thing is, though, that doesn't align with the values of the casual player. Between that and Justin Wong being the absolute snot out of anybody that tries to get into their game, you can kind of see why you don't see many people talking about or playing it outside of the niche circles that it's in. Now, the core player base might not care about none of that I just said, but that's just me putting that out there. It's even more ironic to me how this doesn't line up with the casual, you know, views and values, because apparently, according to Maxman himself, when MVC2 came out, the game wasn't even a beloved game. Yet today, it's seen as a game that's, you know, beloved, charming for all the things that it has, and don't nobody want to change nothing for anything, bro, because that's just the way that they like it. I just find it real interesting. So what does the modern casual fighting game fan care about? For what I can gather, it's boiled down to a couple things, but the main thing is accessibility. You know, because they want to be able to do all the cool stuff that their favorite streamer does, that their favorite top player does, and they want to see the win screen far more often than they ever see a lose screen. And then outside of that, all the other stuff that you would expect from the casual side of things, like customization, some other modes, to play and get into, ways to play, with their friends, etc. This is what most publishers will try their best to cater to because their views and values lie in financial gain. And this sometimes clashes even with the views and values of the devs, which the devs, they care about a well-balanced and, more importantly, a well-received game. Sometimes these ideas clash and it affects the state of the game, either for better or worse, and the game's future is then partially determined by the general consensus of the game, which you won't ever get a concrete answer for due to the effect of the preferential fragmentation. This is why, in spite of how much shit Tekken 8 gets on a daily basis from people on Twitter criticizing the game, or the overabundance of YouTube videos talking about how Season 3 needs to do A, B, and C in order to survive, bro, the game maintains a consistent player base, which means consistent money flow for Bandai Namco, which is really all the clarification they need to proceed as normal. Especially with Harada gone. And here's the thing about Harada. Harada was the main one that was pushing the values of the hardcore, competitive, and top player base to the publisher now. So with him gone, that push ain't there, which means they have every reason to proceed as normal. Keep in mind, games like Guilty Gear Strive maintained a player base of 2,000 players on Steam, and that was enough to keep the game alive from season to season all the way to the point where it's at now, despite of no matter what issues people had with it, happy chaos, all type of stuff. We don't have the console numbers, obviously, but these numbers you can probably guess are comparable with Steam. And of course, this is just my opinion based on that data, but can you imagine, with a consistent player base and the money flow, Bandai will probably just keep pushing to those players instead of risking abandoning them to please the loud minority of players that are already gone. No matter what you hear on the internet about people's opinions of the game, these numbers just stay consistent, which means the people who the videos are meant for, they're not watching them. They're playing and enjoying the game. And in Tekken's case more specifically, the harsh reality is that a vast majority of those guys that are, making these videos, talking crazy about the game and stuff, the reality is they're going to get back on the game right after complaining about it anyway, like it's their 9-to-5 job, bro. If I could just keep it real. You know what I remember? I remember Tekken 5 DR being on a PS3 emulator for PC with a working online client and a Twitter account with a dedicated Discord server that was willing to teach you how to set up and play online against other people on PC, bro. Which is the version of Tekken that's usually said to be the best version, right? I remember Tekken 8 players that were disgruntled and had nothing but negative things to say about Tekken 8, uploading screenshots of them uninstalling the game each update just to hop back on that joint the next day, bro. I remember this thing dropping and people playing the game, enjoying the game, uploading clips of them playing the game. Keep in mind, this is supposed to be the peak Tekken experience, right? This is supposed to be Tekken at its purest. This is supposed to be real Tekken by all intents and purposes by majority of the community. Not even 30 days later, we back on Tekken 8, bro. This shit is a drug to these people, man. Y'all gotta get off the rock, man. I know this was kind of like a sideline, bro, but it just had to be said, bro. Y'all are addicted, bro. This preference fragmentation also extends into the player etiquette as well, and I believe this is where the different subsidies of the fighting game players tend to clash the most. I would like to use my boy Mike Hollow as a perfect example. Recently, he dropped a video called Fight with Honor Fighting Game Brain Rot, right? And essentially, he's going over hate mail that he's receiving for playing a character that is considered pretty annoying to play against. And people were on there calling him cheat for playing a game with, a certain character and playing a certain way, right? And Mike is basically saying there is no code of conduct that says I need to play a specific way, bro. Like, it's a fighting game. You win by beating the opponent by any means necessary. Nothing more, nothing less. And you know what? I agree with this. I respect this. You know, I agree with this stance, because the idea that someone needs to conform to a play style that you like is, first of all, it's kind of delusional, but more importantly, it's a way of you trying to force another player to match your preference and values as a player of that game, in which, you know, that's nothing more than an illusion, bro. However, here's something else on the other side of that coin where Mike might give me some pushback for, but I'm gonna say it anyway. If we can agree with all of that, then we have to acknowledge the fact that the exact same thing is true for when someone rage quits or one and dones in the game. This kind of stings for me and pretty much everyone else that hates this concept too, but it's literally the reality of it, bro. Because the expectation or the idea that someone must be locked into a set is nothing more than another preference fragment. But the only difference is that it's a value that has been ingrained into the FGC from the very beginning, you know. But just because that's the case, it doesn't mean that other players have to conform to that, bro. If they, you know, if they don't hold the same values, then they don't have to conform to that, bro. That is the responsibility of the video game developers themselves, bro. If there's no system in place to punish rage quitting, and if the players allowed to leave rank sets halfway through with no consequences, then why wouldn't a casual do that, bro? That doesn't have the same values as an FGC person, bro. Here's another thing too that I just want to say. My personal opinion, exposing players for quitting and ducking sets only affects the people who want to seem like a compliant person to the FGC, you know, like, say, like, for example, if a guy like Punk rage quit or Arslan Ash rage quit on another player and somebody from the FGC exposed them on Twitter or whatever, yeah, it would be a pretty big deal. But if Booty Clapper 6'7", you know, rage quits on you, I don't think he's gonna care in the next 24 hours if he gets posted or not, bro. The point of this is, even though we have the expectation, you know, to want to finish the set and don't quit out of, you know, other stuff like that, it's foolish of us to uphold these values on the remaining 80% of the player base that will more than likely never go to an FGC event, more than likely never go to an offline, let alone even care enough about these unspoken FGC rules that everybody in the FGC done made up already, bro. Everybody plays the game different, everybody navigates losing different, just like how everyone creates content different, bro. I'm not gonna sit here and condone rage quitting or bad mannerisms in fighting games, but I'm just saying that trying to police that is a damn near impossible task, even as somebody with influence or a content creator, bro. And I feel like that's a good segue onto the next topic, which is, you know, the content creator and the larger figures of the community in general themselves. Remember when I said there was two important terms in this video, bro? The second term that I'm going to use is called the false consensus effect. This is the concept of people that assume that their opinions are widely and largely agreed upon, even when they aren't, you know. And I think a lot of people fall into this when they have any sort of platform. I know they fall into it if they have a platform that's also developed an ego with it, bro. But the fact of the matter is that when creators or players, you know, are popular, their words become gospel, people start to act like sheep and accept every single word taken. And when questioned on anything, the response is usually something along the lines of, yeah, it's true because this content creator said it, or yeah, it's true because that guy said it. This type of thing gives every reason for people to feel like their opinions matter. Then they end up having the most absurd takes, and what this can lead to is people calling themselves, you know, intelligent individuals while also spouting out some just nonsensical takes, or even worse, in my opinion, talking about things that they just have no idea on, just stuff that's completely out of their ball range, bro. There was one time in Mike Hollow's stream where I was chilling, I was watching, you know, I was listening to it at work, bro, and there were a couple of Tekken players that was talking about Elden Ring Night Rain for some reason.
All I know is that Namco's lucky they have Elden Ring. I feel like if they didn't have Elden Ring, that Tekken 8 might be fucking dead.
Well, I mean, it's from Software, so that's like the main developer.
Yeah,
but a lot of people they're not really feeling that Night Rain shit, from what I hear.
I really see no one really talk about Night Rain for real. It's been
that's the problem.
It's been up for a while.
It went out for a while, like you said, and it's like it's not really like if you didn't know any better, you don't even know it exists.
I'm telling you, I actually forgot until you said. I'll be sorry.
Where that shit came from, you not like that, bro. You went live and said you pop niggas. You don't pop niggas. You went live and said you whoop niggas. You don't whoop niggas. You went live and said niggas know how you get down. Nobody know how you get down. What the fuck is you talking about?
And I feel like this is the worst on Twitter because all it takes is a few posts to go viral to make someone feel emboldened enough to feel like their opinions matter more, bro. And in my personal opinion, this is just due to the feedback loop, bro. The high engagement, the high follower counts, bro. It just gives people that validation, and creators, you know, the feel like they have, you know, it puts them under the impression that their stuff really matters. And what comes from that is some of the most boneheaded takes that I've ever seen, bro. Not just takes, but just the personas that rise from this, bro. Just to give you a few examples, a prolific figure in the MK scene, here's him just randomly attacking Virtual Fighter for no reason, completely unprovoked, for absolutely zero reason at all. Oh, and not just one prolific MK figure, it's two. We got true underdog gaming that really wants to say, yeah, it only has the gameplay. Adding on to the dog pile, you got Hidden Level, a Tekken player, adding on to the dog pile, which is very ironic considering this is an individual who likes to say that Tekken is a victim, and their Tekken players are always getting victimized by, you know, the fan bases of VF and DOA. Yeah, here he is doing the exact same thing. Tekken players with blue check marks talking about this is why you don't let DOA and Soul Calibur devs make 1,500 changes, when the reality is only one DOA dev was in Tekken, and the majority of the things that they did was out of game elements. The other reason why I feel like this is a problem is for the simple fact that when you get like this feedback loop and you got people that end up getting big platforms, they feel like their opinion matters, they're getting validation from people who just want to, you know, follow the person who has whatever type of credentials they have on their record. You know, the developers and the publishers, they see this stuff, and sometimes this can lead to some very bonehead decisions. And in a lot of ways, this has led me to believe that sometimes even the devs or the publishers or whoever's calling these shots don't even understand what their fan base wants of their game either, bro. As much as it pains me to say, as much as it breaks my heart, bro, Sega is the perfect example, bro. Now, I want you to take a look at these for me real quick, man. Here's FDX quoting a Tekken loyalist, bro, saying the reason why I can enjoy Tekken with weapons, armor, rage, and heat is because of this. No other game captures the movement feel. This is in response to, yet again, a Tekken loyalist who, for context, was trying to say that VF is a slow-moving game. You know, even though that's factually incorrect, but we're not here for that right now. We'll break that down another day. Here's another post. This is actually replying to Rip that said he's been commentating VF5 lately and quickly came to realize it forces aggression in general. Tekken 8's already a step towards VF. Guard breaks also very VF. And then FDX replies, it says, this is why I'm not very drawn towards VF. I like Tekken, not 3D martial arts fighters. So we have concrete confirmation that this man does not enjoy VF over Tekken. He prefers Tekken. He would rather load up Street Fighter 6 than play VF. So, with that information in mind, why, oh why, for the Virtual Fighter 5 Revo World Stage Open Beta, you have FDX, Rufomonger, Rip, and Diaphone all at a VF event? It doesn't make sense to me, bro. I can understand Rufomonger, because Rufomonger's made multiple videos on VF. I can understand Rip, because Rip is commentating VF. He's been commentating VF, so I can understand that as well. But Diaphone and FDX? And this is no offense to them. I'm not saying that they can't learn VF if they didn't want to, but Diaphone, I know Diaphone for playing 2D games. I know Diaphone for playing Grand Blue. I know FDX for playing nothing but Tekken. They don't play VF. They don't play it enough to make it a central point in their content. They don't play it enough to care about VF. And then, like I said, FDX has literally said on record that he doesn't like VF. So why as a publisher or as a developer, whoever greenlit this, why make somebody who doesn't care about your game be one of the main promoters for your game? I just don't understand that concept. Because here's the thing, bro, that doesn't work on any game. Let's go to a whole different genre, because there's a perfect example of this shit happening, bro. Let's look at a shooting game. Y'all remember a shooting game called X Defiant? X Defiant, their promotion strategy was take all the people that was having issues with Call of Duty and have them promote this shooting game that is supposed to have no skill-based matchmaking, supposed to be very arcadey like the old school days, and be like basically the shooting game that Call of Duty used to be, right? And the promotion worked as far as like getting people to watch, but the fan base that's there is not there to check out the new game. They are there to support that person. The same concept applies here, bro. The moment that Diaphone and FDX, the moment that they are done with this promotion, they go right back to making Tekken or 2D, and that community's going right back over there with them, bro. They're only there to support them. It would have been much better to have at least a couple other people, maybe somebody, at least one person that plays the game at a high competitive level. Maybe somebody like Super Golden, like VF Numbers, Bushido, Assassin, Tricky, Chang Chai. Like, you can bring up a whole bunch of different lists of people that really enjoy VF that will be ecstatic to promote and explain your game at a high level. Lining this back up with the topic of this video though, it feels like the values of the publishers in this case was to just get the most popular people as possible instead of getting people that are actually passionate about the game to promote the game. Because honestly, the big question after that is, did that promotion get more people to play Virtual Fighter 5 World Stage Revo? Off the eye test, don't really look like it, my boy. But yeah, man, it's crazy too, because sometimes it really just feels like the devs and the publishers have their own values which completely go against the player, and instead of listening to anybody, they just go ahead and do that shit anyway, bro. And man, I can't think of a better example than the SNK stuff, bro. Can we talk about that real quick, man? You had all the PR on your side, and what do you do to capitalize on it? Let's put generative AI in the damn trailer to distract everyone from all the good shit that we want to reveal. If you want, look, bro, if you want to test AI in the trailer, bro, why now, bro? It just don't make any sense. You had the leaks. The leaks sounded amazing. You had the Kenshiro stuff, the Fist of the North Star collab. It looked amazing. You have Saudi money that's backing you. So why is it so hard to just get a few actors in there, get a few cosplayers in there? Like, bro, you literally could have asked anybody, bro. I could have asked a monkey, bro, and literally everybody would have told you that adding in AI was just gonna piss people off for no reason, bro. It literally just distracts from everything else you have going on in the game, bro. I'm just so left speechless, bro, because it's like, bro, nobody got the memo to this shit, bro. Like, bro, that's, oh my god, that's nasty work, man, bro. Like, it's like maybe the publishers also have a false consensus effect on their own, bro, because how else would you come to a decision like this, man? I could honestly keep going. As I record this, there is a clashing of values within the ANA player base, bro, between the people who actually sit there and use them versus the people that actually sit there and have to, you know, deal with them. I could talk about how players who have any semblance of a platform have such an anti-gooner mentality, but meanwhile the players that embrace gooning in fighting games are the same people that are keeping the lights on over there for the most part. But I think you get the point for one, and plus I'm kind of saving that later for its own video next week, bro. There's so many clashing ideas in the FGC. While some people want innovative changes to a game, others want things to remain exactly the same. New players want easy accessibility and mechanics that make them feel like strong players, while veterans and high-level players want things to be done in a way that feels earned, even at the cost of those casuals. The devs want to create a solid experience for all potential players, while the publisher just wants to make as much money as they can out of a genre and its player base. You know, there's so many conflicting ideas and takes that's enough to give you whiplash. There's only one concrete answer to this, and I've already previously mentioned it, man. The journey, the process of trying to get better at a new fighting game, learning it, and eventually becoming good at it, and that alone being the unforgettable experience that it is. That is the only glue that holds this community together. That is the glue and duct tape that makes the FGC, no matter how nuanced and no matter how subsidized these games and these communities get within the whole greater FGC umbrella. It is that one thing that keeps everything together. No matter the game, that one thing remains consistent. As long as it does, the community will be alright, Hopefully. But yeah, that's all I got for y'all today, man. If y'all enjoy this type of content, y'all want to see more, man, don't forget to leave a like, comment, share with your friends, all that good stuff, man. And as always, subscribe for some more from the Golden Ghost Cartel. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Deuces, man.